So how do we get our heads around the complicated forces that really shape a young person's life? Well, today we're going to break down three pretty big ideas in sociology. We're talking strain, drift, and control theories. But instead of some dry textbook definition, we're going to see them through the eyes of a young man named Marcus.
This line, wow, it's from Marcus's mom, and it just perfectly sets the scene, doesn't it? It paints a picture of a world where just getting by is the main goal, where dreaming of something more feels almost out of reach. This is the world Marcus grew up in.
So, let's meet Marcus. He's got these big dreams, ideas that go way beyond his block. But the reality he's living in, it's tough. The path that's supposed to lead to success, good school, good job, it looks incredibly long and full of dead ends. Meanwhile, the streets are right there, promising a much quicker payoff.
And this, right here, this is the tug of war for his future. On one side, you have his cousin Jalen, who's not wrong, He's being practical, saying the street always has an opening. But on the other side is his teacher, Miss Timmons, who sees something else in him, his talent. It's like two totally different life scripts being handed to him at the same time.
And then, just when you think things are complicated enough, the pressure gets cranked way up. His mom loses her job. Suddenly, money isn't just a worry in the background, it's a crisis. And that faster reward from the streets starts to look less like a bad choice and more like the only choice.
Which leads us to this huge question. What happens when you want all the things society tells you to want? Success, a good life. But all the legitimate doors to get there just seem slammed shut. This isn't just about Marcus anymore. This is the core idea behind our very first theory.
And here it is, strain theory. From sociologist Robert Merton, all it really means is that there's this tension, this strain, between the goals we're all told to chase and the actual tools we're given to do it. And when that gap gets too big, some people start to, innovate. They find other ways to get what they want, and sometimes those ways are illegal.
Here's a perfect picture of that conflict. On the left, you've got the American dream. And on the right, you've got Marcus's reality, the blocked paths. That giant gulf in between the two, that's the strain. That's the pressure he's feeling every single day. And here we go. We see the theory play out in real life. To deal with that strain, Marcus starts taking that alternative path. He's skipping school, the very place that's supposed to be his ticket out, and he starts hanging with his cousin's crew. He's innovating, just like Merton's theory said he might.
But here's where it gets a little more nuanced. It's not like a switch flipped and Marcus became a bad kid. He's torn. This quote is so important because it shows he hasn't fully picked a side. He's just caught. He's stuck in the middle, which, believe it or not, leads us perfectly into our second idea. This is David Motz's drift theory. It suggests that a lot of young people don't just become one thing or the other. They drift. They float back and forth between doing the right thing and breaking the rules. They're kind of in this state of limbo, telling themselves, oh, it's just for now, it's not a big deal.
And here are those two worlds, clear as day. On one side, you have all the forces pulling him toward conformity, his teacher, a mentor, the idea of school, and a real future. Then on the other side, you've got the pull of delinquency, Jalen, the brotherhood of the crew, and that lure of fast cash. Marcus is drifting right down the middle of this.
And that mentor we just mentioned, that's Mr. Garcia from the local community center. He was a lifeline, a solid connection to that conformity side of the chart. And Mr. Garcia saw what was happening. He warned him. It just shows that Marcus had these positive ties, but he was starting to let them go.
So that begs a really important question, right? If you have good people like Mr. Garcia in your corner, why do they sometimes lose their influence? Why would someone like Marcus start drifting away from that and closer to trouble?
And the answer might be in our final theory for today, Travis Hershey's control theory. Now this one is cool because it flips the whole question around. Instead of asking, why do people commit crimes, Hershey asks, why don't more people commit crimes? And his answer is simple. Our bonds, our connections to society. When those bonds are strong, they keep us on the straight and narrow. When they get weak, we're free to drift away.
And you can see Marcus's bonds weakening right here. His attachment to people like his teacher and mentor is fading. His commitment to those long-term goals is getting shaky, and his belief that the rules of society are actually fair and will work for him, that's eroding fast. Every single one of his connections is starting to fray. And this is where it all comes to a head. All the theory, all the drifting, all the broken bonds lead to this one single moment. A close call that could change his entire life. The danger, which always seemed kind of abstract, is suddenly very, very real.
Can't you just feel that? That split second of pure panic? The world just stops. It's not a theory anymore. It's consequences. It's blue and red lights.
And in that moment, with his heart pounding in his chest, he has to make a choice. Keep going down this road, let those bonds snap for good, or turn around.
He makes the choice. He walks back. He decides, no, this is not how my story is going to end. And what's the first thing he does? He goes back to Mr. Garcia, and his mentor welcomes him with no judgment. That's everything. That one act starts to mend those broken bonds. It's control theory working in reverse. He's actively rebuilding the connections that can pull him back.
So as you can see, Marcus's story isn't just a story. It's a living, breathing example of all these forces at play. And it leaves us with this final, really crucial question to think about. It's not about finding who to blame, but about understanding this complex dance between strain, drift, and control. It shows that our paths aren't set in stone, and that sometimes the right relationships and the right support can completely reshape a life.